Alrighty then, welcome. Welcome everyone to session number 201. Session 201 of Kevin Reads A Course in Miracles. Today we are still in chapter 26, entitled The Transition, and we'll be focusing on section 3, Roman numeral 3, on page 546 in the text, and it is entitled The Borderland. Okay, let's just begin. The Borderland. Complexity is not of God. How could it be, when all he knows is one? He knows of one creation, one reality, one truth, and but one Son. Nothing conflicts with oneness. How then could there be complexity in him? What is there to decide? For it is conflict that makes choice possible. The truth is simple. It is one without an opposite. And how could strife enter in its simple presence and bring complexity where oneness is? The truth makes no decisions, for there is nothing to decide between. And only if there were could choosing be a necessary step in the advance toward oneness. What is everything leaves room for nothing else. Yet is the magnitude beyond the scope of this curriculum. Nor is it necessary we dwell on anything that cannot be immediately grasped. Right? He's talking about that statement in sentence number 12 in the first paragraph. He says, what is everything leaves room for nothing else. You could dwell on that. That's one of those statements that my father would have loved. He likes statements like that. So what is everything? It's the oneness. Leaves room for nothing else. There is nothing else. He said, and then Jesus says, yet, he says, but it is, yet is this magnitude, this oneness is beyond the scope of this curriculum. All right? We're not here to talk about love, all right? As he said in the beginning. All right? So the magnitude of the oneness is beyond the scope of this curriculum. We're talking about removing the blockage to the awareness of this. Okay? And peace is the fertile ground. We're looking for peace of mind. All right? Yet is this magnitude beyond the scope of this curriculum. Nor is it necessary we dwell on anything that cannot be immediately grasped. So this is, we're not going to dwell on it because you can't just grasp the oneness immediately. Right? We have to take it in small doses. Jesus knows this is process for us. Right? And he says, look, complexity is not of God. There is no complexity in the oneness. There's nothing to choose between. Right? There's only one. How many times does he use the word one? There's one creation, one reality, one truth, and one Son. You are the emanation of the original source, God. We believe in the complexity. We believe there's billions and billions and billions of people, right? Billions of individuals. And there have been billions of individuals running around through history. Right? Very complex. But complexity is not of God. All right? And he says, look, nothing conflicts with the oneness. how could there be complexity in him? What is there to decide? For it is conflict that makes choice possible. And the conflict arose when I thought I could be an individual. Maybe there's something other than the oneness. In that instant, as they say, the mind split in the Course's mythology. Now all of a sudden there's complexity. We have to make a choice. All right? And in the choosing to believe that I could be separate, the complexity just compounds. It compounds on a moment-to-moment basis, believe me. Right? It is conflict that makes choice possible. There are no choices in the oneness. Right? The truth is simple. It is one without an opposite. And how could strife enter in its simple presence and bring complexity where oneness is? The truth makes no decisions, for there's nothing to decide between. And only if there were could choosing be a necessary step in the advance toward oneness. What is everything leaves room for nothing else. In a very brilliant way, Jesus is telling us that this world is an illusion. Our experience in time and space and form is an illusion. All right? And that's what makes the process fearful, because we think we're going to be obliterated if we choose for the oneness, if we choose to have the Holy Spirit help us change our perceptions. Right? This complexity makes everything, it leads to the fearful thought that I'm going to disappear, I'm going to get blown up or something here. Right? But Jesus says, look, in paragraph 2, he goes, there's a borderland of thought, okay, between the complexity of the ego and the oneness of heaven. He says there's a borderland of thought, right? So don't be too scared. There's a borderland of thought that stands between this world and heaven. It is not a place, and when you reach it, it is apart from time. Right? Here is the meeting place where thoughts are brought together, where continuing values meet and all illusions are laid down beside the truth, where they are judged to be untrue. This borderland is just beyond the gate of heaven. Here is every thought made pure and wholly simple. Here is sin denied, and everything that is received instead. Right? He says, look, it's not a place. It doesn't have any form. It's outside of time. So it's in the mind, this borderland. And it's where we bring our thoughts and we bring them to the Holy Spirit as we use that symbol. That symbol of who you really are, the memory of who you really are. The symbol of the memory of Christ. We bring all the thoughts there. And all illusions are laid down beside the truth. Help me to see correctly. And they are judged to be untrue. The illusions are judged to be untrue. And we become aware of that in the borderland. Okay? And the borderland is just beyond the gate of heaven. Right? It's right on the front lawn, so to speak. Just before the gate. Right? Here is every thought made pure and wholly simple. Right? We go into the mind and we bring the thoughts with us. Help me to see correctly. We become aware that this thought is, it can't be right because whatever it is, it's making me uncomfortable, it's making me scared, it's making me angry. I think I know who the guilty person is, all that stuff. I think I'm lacking something, all those thoughts. They're brought to this place in the mind, and they're made pure and wholly simple because they're judged to be untrue. They're just judged to be untrue. It's like, don't worry about it. It's untrue. That's not who you are. This is who you are. The memory of who you are rises in this space. And here is sin denied, he says. Sentence 6. Here the separation is denied. It just didn't happen. And everything that is received instead. So the oneness is received. Your communication with your Creator is received. Your knowledge of everything is received. Okay? Because you brought your thoughts to be made pure and simple. All right? Help me to see correctly. All right? In paragraph 3, this is the journey's end. We have referred to it as the real world, and yet there is a contradiction here, in that the words imply a limited reality, a partial truth, a segment of the universe made true. This is because knowledge makes no attack upon perception. They are brought together, and only one continues past the gate where oneness is. Salvation is a borderland, where place and time and choice have meaning still. And yet it can be seen that they are temporary, out of place, and every choice has been already made. All right, so salvation is only necessary for those of us who believe in separation. All right? But he says, in this borderland, this is the journey's end. And he says, look, we've spoken about it as the real world. It's like we're still in form, but everything reflects the oneness. Everything reflects the truth. And you're not there for so long. All right. But he says, but using that term, he says, it seems to be contradictory. Right? We have referred to it as the real world, and yet there is a contradiction here, in that the words imply a limited reality, world, right? A partial truth, a segment of the universe made true, as if we're making the form true again. Right? And he says this is because knowledge makes no attack upon perception. It's because our perceptions are never snatched away from us. Right? We have to bring them to the truth, and then we realize, oh, now I get it. It's an illusion. It's not true. So they are brought together. Our perceptions are brought together with knowledge, and only one remains, and only one continues. All right, so only knowledge continues. I was listening to two young ladies on a podcast, Peace Talks, I believe it is. And they're studies, it's just different language, all right? They say that everything is healed in the presence of your higher self. Well, there it is. We bring our illusions to this thing that's place. It's not a space. It's not a place. It's in the mind. It's where your higher self, the Holy Spirit, Jesus, the Christ, resides. And we bring these illusions there, and they are purified and made simple. Right? And he says, and the only thing that continues is knowledge. And it's the knowledge of who you are, the knowledge of the oneness. All right. They are brought together, and only one continues past the gate where oneness is. Salvation is a borderland where place and time and choice have meaning still. And yet it can be seen that they are temporary, out of place, and every choice has been already made. So in this space where we have brought our thoughts to be finally made pure, we're finally saying no to the ego thought system, right? You're still aware of what is being left behind, right? But you know that it's all been temporary, and it's all been out of place, and that every choice has already been made, that you already are part of the oneness, right? And we're not swept away abruptly. Knowledge makes no attack on perception. All right. It's entirely up to you when you want to leave these illusions behind and have them corrected. In another place in the book, Jesus says, no one is taken up and abruptly hurled into heaven. He says it doesn't happen. Paraphrasing. It's much more poetic when Jesus says it. All right. But knowledge makes no attack upon perception. All right. It's up to us to come to that place and ask, help me to see correctly. I'm willing. I'm willing to have my perception corrected, my mistakes. Because my perceptions are mistakes. All perception came from the original mistake, which was believing I was separated from the oneness. And then he says it again, paragraph 4. He says, nothing the Son of God believes can be destroyed. So nothing comes along to destroy your beliefs. We have to question our beliefs and bring them to the borderland, to the mind, the right mind, we call it, to where they can be corrected. To where the Holy Spirit is, the memory of who you are, the memory of the Christ, the memory of your relationship with your Creator. It's all there in the right mind. And in the presence of that, our perceptions can be corrected, if that is our wish, right? Because the Holy Spirit doesn't destroy any of your beliefs. Just waits patiently for you to ask, help me correct this belief. Okay. So nothing the Son of God believes can be destroyed. But what is truth to him must be brought to that last comparison that he will ever make. The last evaluation that will be possible, the final judgment upon this world. It is the judgment of the truth upon illusion, of knowledge on perception. It has no meaning and does not exist. This is your decision. is but a simple statement of a simple fact. But in this world, there are no simple facts, because it is the same and what is different remain, because what is the same and what is different remain unclear. The one essential thing to make a choice at all is this distinction. And herein lies the difference between the worlds. In this one, choice is made impossible. In the real world, is choosing simplified. Choosing is simplified in the real world. It's either an illusion or it's part of the oneness. Complexity is of the ego. Okay? So but what you believe is the truth has to be brought to these places, to this place, so you can make the evaluation. Right? And when he's speaking about this borderland, the real world, it's the final evaluation. After we've had our perceptions corrected, when we finally summon up the courage, so to speak, or we realize that the next step is what we want, and we make that final judgment. I do not want the illusion. Right? It's the judgment of truth upon illusion, of knowledge on perception. And the judgment is it has no meaning, and it does not exist. That's our final judgment on the illusions, on the world of form, of time and space. Right? And the ego would tell you that's a scary thought, but that's why we do it piecemeal. We do it piece by piece. What we become aware of. Oh, I was angry. I don't want to be angry. Right? Even if it's just that one incident that made you angry. If you're willing to see it correctly, you're saving yourself thousands of years, as Jesus would say. You're speeding toward the borderland, toward the real world, by realizing the process. I don't want the anger. Help me to see correctly. I'm willing, because if I'm angry, you probably think I'm right, you know. That's what she did or he did. I'm right. You have to be willing to lay down that desire to be right. I mean, at one point, Jesus says, would you rather be right or happy? All right? And you just work your way to that moment where you realize it's all an illusion. And believe me, it's followed by bliss. There's no, the fear just melts away. All right? Just melts away like chocolate in your pocket on a hot day. So salvation is a borderland where place and time and choice have meaning still. Yet it can be seen that they are temporary and out of place. All right? And that final judgment in the next paragraph, paragraph 4, it's the judgment of the truth upon illusion. The final judgment is that this has no meaning, and therefore it doesn't exist. It says this is not your decision, but it's a simple statement of fact. It's just a realization that will come with the practice. Right? The one essential thing to make a choice at all is this distinction. Right? And herein lies the difference between the worlds. In this world, choice is made impossible. no matter what you do, it's always reflecting the separation, no matter what choice you make. You know, any choice you make, it just reflects the thought of separation. So real choice is made impossible. In the real world, choosing is simplified. It's either illusion or it's not. It's either illusion or oneness. Paragraph 5. Salvation stops just short of heaven, for only perception needs salvation. Heaven was never lost, and so cannot be saved. Yet who can make a choice between the wish for heaven and the wish for hell unless he recognizes they are not the same? This difference is the learning goal this course has set. It will not go beyond this aim. Its only purpose is to teach what is the same and what is different, leaving room to make the only choice that can be made. All right. So the course, he always says, is not about love. All right. This is about removing the blocks to the awareness of love's presence, to the awareness of the oneness. He says that's not your decision. It just arises in your mind because you made the decision that I don't want the ego. Right? Only perception needs salvation. Right? Only perception, that which is born out of the thought, the belief in separation. And so he gives us the Atonement Principle again. He goes, heaven was never lost. You never separated. And so you cannot be saved. You don't need to be saved. Right? You only think you do. Yet who can make a choice between the wish for heaven and the wish for hell unless he recognizes they are not the same? This difference is the learning goal this course has set. Learning the difference between heaven and hell. Hell is the result of the belief in separation. Okay? And they're not the same. The ego will tell you, stay away from God. All right? God's going to throw you into hell. All right? Until you realize, you tell the ego, look, I'm already here, bro. I want to go back to the oneness. And the ego kicks and screams and tries to prove that separation is real. Right? The only purpose this course has is to teach that what is the same, which is the thought system of God, and what is different, the thought system of the ego, right? Its only purpose is to teach what is the same and what is different, leaving room to make the only choice that can be made. All right? So Jesus is trying to tell you. I mean, at one point, I believe he just said to Helen, and she was complaining that the course didn't work, didn't do what you said. You know, and Jesus just said, well, did it ever occur to you maybe you're not doing what I said? You're not doing what I told you to do. All right, Jesus and Helen did have that contentious relationship at times. But as Dr. Wapnick said, she knew full well what the Course said. All right? She knew full well. It's just that her ego persona would fight against it and try to delay things. All right? So paragraph 6. Right? It's like the only choice is to return to the right mind. Paragraph 6. There is no basis for choice in this complex and overcomplicated world, for no one understands what is the same and seems to choose where no choice really is. The real world is the area of choice made real, not in the outcome, but in the perception of alternatives for choice. That there is a choice is an illusion. Yet within this one lies the undoing of every illusion, not accepting this. Okay. One of those head-spinning group of sentences. He says, they're really in this world, if we're really ensconced and surrounded in this world of form, resulting from the belief in separation, he goes, there's really no choice. You may think you're making choices, but there really is no choice. Okay? Because every choice in this world is just reinforcing the belief in separation. All right? Because he says, because nobody understands what is the same. Nobody understands the oneness in this world, right? And seems to choose where no choice really is. Right? So we seem to choose in this world of separation. He says that there is a choice is an illusion. He says that you believe there's a choice is an illusion. Okay? Yet within this one lies the undoing of every illusion. All right? That choosing to have my perceptions corrected lies the undoing of every illusion. All right? That there is a choice is an illusion. Yet within this one lies the undoing of every illusion, not accepting this. Right? We can choose to undo the illusions, to undo the ultimate illusion. And that becomes, that happens when I realize this is not working out, right? This anger is not working out. It just creates what we call the attack-defense cycle. If I attack something, all of a sudden I'm paranoid. I got to defend against it. Right? It doesn't work. So when I say there must be a better way, I'm beginning to undo the illusion. Right? Paragraph 7. Is not this like your special function, where the separation is undone by change of purpose in what once was specialness and now is union? All illusions are but one, and in the recognition of this, and in the recognition this is so, lies the ability to give up all attempts to choose between them and to make them different. How simple is the choice between two things so clearly unalike. There is no conflict here, no sacrifice is possible in the relinquishment of an illusion, recognized as such. Where all reality has been withdrawn from what was never true, can it be hard to give it up and choose what must be true? All right, I seem to stumble over some of those words here. So as we were saying in a previous paragraph 6, there seems to be there are no choices here in the ego belief system. But when I come to that moment when I say, wait, there has to be a better way. This world is really not. It's not where it's at, And I become willing to see correctly. Right? No matter how you form that request, and how deep a level you form it. Right? He says this, within that decision lies the undoing of every illusion. And then he says in the beginning of paragraph 7, isn't this like your special function, which is forgiveness? It's exactly like your special function. You realize that whatever the situation is, if I'm projecting anger, or I'm feeling guilty, I'm feeling terrible about myself, or I'm feeling afraid, or whatever emotion is jumping up, I can just say, wait a second. I'm willing to see this correctly. And we call on our higher self. We call on the Holy Spirit. We call on Jesus, the symbol of Jesus, who is our perfected self. Help me to see it correctly. I am willing to see correctly. That's our special function. That's where the separation is undone. By a change of purpose. I no longer want to project guilt and reinforce the idea of separation. My purpose now is to learn about the oneness. My purpose is to rejoin the oneness, not to reinforce separation. So where the separation is undone by a change of purpose in what once was specialness and now is union. Right? There's a change of purpose. I no longer want to keep proving that I'm an individual, I'm special. I want to join the oneness. So it's no longer specialness, it's about union. Right? All illusions are but one. All illusions just come from that one belief in separation. And in the recognition, this is so when I realize that all these illusions are coming from the same mistake, right? The ability to give up all attempts to choose between them and to make them different. So all of a sudden I get the ability to choose between illusions. Which one is better for me? All right? And to make them different. They're not different. They're all the same. So then he says, how simple is the choice between two things so clearly unalike? Right? So two things that are clearly unalike. We can use the chaos and the oneness, the chaos and the peace that passes all understanding. He says, how simple is the choice between these two things? There is no conflict here. No sacrifice is possible in the relinquishment of an illusion recognized as such. So when I recognize it's an illusion, he goes, there is no sacrifice. You're happy to give it up. You're happy to walk away from it. Right? Where all reality has been withdrawn from what was never true. Right? Where all reality has been withdrawn from what was never true. Can it be hard to give it up and choose what must be true? So when all these thoughts are brought to the right mind, and all the thoughts are finally brought, purified, and made simple, right? We realize what was never true. And then he says, so is it, when you realize it was never true, could it be hard to give it up? All right? And choose what must be true, which is the oneness. All right? And that's what happens in that process of going to the right mind. We practice that, and we're willing to see correctly. In some moment, you will be in that borderland where you can make that final choice and say no to the ego. And everything that your senses report to you will just sing to you of the oneness. And then it's no problem slipping back into the mind of God. All right. So it would behoove us to continue practicing, continue to be willing to have my perceptions corrected. All right? I would rather be happy than right. All right? Thank you for being here. Thank you for the opportunity. And I will see you in the next session. All righty.